Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the MB Industries Limited Q2 FY22 earnings conference call. This conference call may contain certain forward-looking statements about the company which are based on the beliefs, opinions, assumptions and expectations of future events. The company cannot guarantee that these are accurate or will be realized. The company's actual results, performance or achievements can thus differ from those projected in any forward-looking statements. The company assumes no responsibility to publicly amend, modify or revise any such statements on the basis of subsequent developments, information or events. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Ms. Parvati Rai from KR Choksey Research. Thank you and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of KR Choksey Research, I welcome you all for the Q2 FY 2022 earnings conference call of MB Industries Limited. From the management side, we have Mr. Makran Appalwar, Chairman and Managing Director, Mrs. Rinku Appalwar, Executive Director and CFO, Ms. Maithili Appalwar, CEO of Avana, and Mr. Yash Punjabi, COO of Avana. We will begin the call with a brief overview by management, followed by the Q&A session. I now hand over the conference to Ms. Maithili Appalwar for her opening remarks. Thank you and over to you, Maithili.
Thank you so much, Parvati. Thanks everyone and welcome to the earnings call for MB Industries for Q2 of FY22. I'm so excited to welcome you all here because this is the strongest quarter by revenue in the history of MB. We did about 132 crores in revenue in this quarter, which is phenomenal. Speaking on a half-yearly level, last year we were at about 124 due to COVID and other issues, and so our half-yearly has gone up from that 124 to about 254. Besides this, very basic and central financial parameter, this quarter has also been extremely strong for our international business vertical, where we were able to maintain a full order book throughout the quarter, and even up to now, which is about a month and a half into the third quarter, we're still at a full order book, which is much higher than the current industry standard. I'd also like to highlight that our EBITDA levels have gone up. So in last year during Q4 we were at about 9.53 and going up from that we went to 10.68 in the first quarter this year and 11.12 in this quarter. So the trend is likely to remain the same going ahead in the year, and we are expecting a further rise in the EBITDA levels. One sort of change that we have had compared to last year that I'd like to highlight is that last year we had a split of about 50 and 50 between our export and our domestic division. This year we have a split of about 60-40, 58-42 to be exact, in the favor of export. Also another improvement is that the company has made this year is a significant shortening of the working capital cycle. Last year, due to some COVID-related issues, our working capital cycle was at about 174 days, and this year it's drastically come down to about 100 days. Also, two other financial parameters that we were very strong on this year were PAT and EPS. PAT doubled, and EPS increased about 4x from 1.28 to 5.3. I think all of our investors will be very happy to note that last year's full earnings of 4.34 have already been crossed by more than 20% this year as we've reached the 5.3 mark. So just to continue, I'll give some slight updates as well on the Avana division, and Yash will give a little bit more of an expanse into the product development and such. So with Avana Retail, as we've previously spoken about it, but just to give an introduction to maybe some newer shareholders who might be on the call today, is that agropolymers is it's a massive national market, but unfortunately there isn't even a single organized player within the agropolymers market that operates on a national level. So as we've seen, for example, just to give an example, Pidilite is a company that came into a very disorganized space, which was the adhesive space, And being the first organized player in such a space, they were able to get that first mover advantage and create a massive brand within the country. So that's really the path that we're looking at with the consumer goods vertical within Avana, is to be the first organized player on a national level for agropolymers. And so, of course, with our 10 crore, which was our top line goal for this year, that we are online to realize that or even cross it. But going into the future, we will not only be looking at expanding geographies, which is what has been the aim with the Jal Sanchar consumer durables vertical, but we're also going to be looking at launching new products. Within the last year, we've launched about 7 products, and our target will be that within the next 5 to 7 years, we should launch about 50 products that should all be developed with the help of contract manufacturers or manufacturing partners, which will help us grow in a very asset-light manner. So now, just to give you more of a detail on this, I'll hand over to Yash. And if you have any further questions on this as well, or any of the financials that I spoke about for MB, I'm happy to answer that later in the call.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm just going to talk a little bit more in detail about what Maitri was mentioning earlier. So just to reiterate, with the consumer goods division, we've been growing pretty significantly in these last few quarters. I'm happy to announce that in the previous quarter, Q2, we've hit our mark of 500 plus dealers. So those are actual retail shops on the ground in rural parts of the country mainly. Last quarter, we talked a lot about software systems that we were developing to keep up with the increased order volume, as the consumer goods division has much higher volumes than the consumer durables division. And I'm happy to report that the systems are keeping up just fine, even hitting 500 plus dealers. We're not having any issues dispatching our products or getting our orders in. Next, I want to talk about a little bit of specific products that we've launched. So Murga's bags was a product that we launched last year. It went pretty well last year, but as it was just the initial launching, it was a little bit limited in terms of geography. This year, since it performed pretty well last year, we decided that we want to spread it out a little bit more geographically and get a more deeper market penetration. So to help with this, we launched an ad campaign. So this was both a TV ad campaign, mainly on Marathi news channels at prime time slots, as well as on on-ground branding activities and marketing activities. Along with this, we've launched some branding for our 500 plus dealers, such as shop boards and standees for them to keep outside their shops. So this is all improving Avana's brand in this sector, and it's what we're working towards for what Maitri spoke about in terms of becoming the big brand, the big organized sector, the big organized player in the sector. So talking a bit more on new product development, this year we also launched a new product which was thread. So this is thread that farmers use to tie creeper crops mainly. The product existed in Q1, but it was selling decently, but nothing to write home about. So we visited a bunch of retailers, we visited a bunch of farmers to do some product research and some user research. We figured out some improvements in the product, and once we made those improvements, it started selling really well. In fact, this season we were sold out on the product. So the reason we're mentioning this is kind of because that's the model that we're going after for each of the new products we've made. It's the same thing it's the same thing that happened with Murga's bags last year, and it's the same thing that's happening with thread this year. Is that we make a couple of iterations, we figure out what is a good product that is accepted by the consumer, and then once we find that, we're able to accelerate its growth through marketing activities and through pushing our on-ground sales team. So having several products in the sector is really helping us negate the seasonality of it. So of course the agricultural market is seasonal, but given the fact that we are diversifying into so many different products, our team on the ground always has some product or the other which is in season, sometimes several products which is in season. So they always have plenty of work to be done. With that, I'll hand it back over to Maitri to open the floor for some questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Anyone who would like to ask a question, please press star and one at this time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Priyank Chadha from Standard Chartered Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi team, Avana team, I mean the whole of the MB team. Great, congratulations for the good set of numbers. Thank you for the opportunity. So my first question is with respect to what was the capacity utilization, and if you can help us update on the additional 3,000 tons of capacity expansion that we had planned. Has that been onboarded?
Yeah,
So Priyank, I will answer this. The capacity utilization was from 84 point something, and the initiation of the capacity of 3,000 ton has already been went ahead, and we were a little delayed on that because of the various COVID related things, but now it's on stream, and I'm sure by, I would say, this financial year end, we would be operating that capacity also.
All right. Thanks. My second question is with respect to other expenses. The current quarter had an other expenses of 24 crores. Last time, when we had discussed, we thought that 17 crores was the new normal. Just to give back the trajectory, I mean, we had 14 crores as an expenses in December quarter. Then for next 6 months, we had 17 crores as a quarterly run rate of other expenses, and now that is inching up to 24 crores. So if you can just help us on what is driving that higher.
See, mainly other expenses also comprises of international freight, which is though paid by the customer, it is a part of our other expense. And you know what has happened to the international freight. So international freight has gone up by more than 3.5 crores over the normal payment days. So that is one of the things which is strongly attributed to the increase in the other expenses column. And as you are aware, though it is paid by the customer, it is so everybody is hoping that it will come back to the normalcy very soon. But that major dent in the other expenses is due to the international freight.
Okay.
That is the largest contributor. And then because there is substantial increase in the sales, there is automatic proportionate rise in the, you must have seen that we have almost doubled the sale, no? So that will almost, kuch na kuch to usme badat aayega na, wages, expenses, other things. So that is contributing to around, somewhere around 2 crores are going to the wages and the labor cost or the labor welfare part of it.
No, sir, I'm comparing quarter on quarter. Okay, on quarter, our sales has gone up by, say, from net sales has been gone up by 113 crores to from 104, which is 10 crores increment. And for 10 crores increment, our other expenses are higher by almost 7 crores. And
yeah, so
like you mentioned, I understand that 3.5 crore is the freight part out of incremental 7 crores. Is that right?
Yeah, around 3.5 is out of the 7 crore incremental. 3.5 is a freight, because you must be reading all across the newspapers that freights have really gone on a very, very northern territory. So that is one of the larger contributor to it. And other thing is pertaining to the labor costs, and there, because the export contribution, if you see, has jumped from 50% to 60%, while exports are always more labor intense and more finer things needs to be done. So because the contribution of the sale has shifted in the favor of export, so that's why the expenses pertaining to labor and the other thing is a little bit higher than the regular one.
Okay. But sir, in that freight part, just to clarify, 3.5 crores you said will be paid by the customer, so that gets stuck in the working capital right now and will be released in whatever the subsequent months.
Cycle, yeah, and it's a part of the cycle.
Okay. If you can, sir, my third question is on the working capital. So it would not be fair to compare year on year, but if we see for last 6 months, and if we go through our cash flow statement, roughly around 10 to 11 crore has been the drag in the cash flow statement, while last 6 months has been fairly normal for the business. So if you can just help us, what can be a release of cash flow from working capital in next 6 months? And I hope I understand that business has been tough in whatever last period.
So, means your question is where the cash working capital is getting stuck? Is this the simple straight line answer you want from me?
Yeah, where it's getting stuck.
So
I understand.
data have gone up by almost 10 crores from 9.95 crore to be precise. Actually, inventories have not really gone up in line with that. Inventories have been better, if you see. So data are this, and secondly, the money is stuck a little bit on the refund side. Refunds are on the higher. Government's money is not coming back as smoothly as it used to come previously.
Can that be expected to get released in next 6 months?
I really don't have a very strong comment to make on that, because there doesn't seems to be any reason why it is not happening very smoothly. It was happening quite smoothly 6 months back, and then all of a sudden, every now and then we keep on hearing about the technical glitch, which is kind of unexplainable. That why is that? So if the technical glitch gets corrected, probably there should not be any worry on the smooth flow of the refunds which are due to the exports. So I'm hopeful that it would get corrected soon, and we should have better flow of refunds soon.
Sure. Thanks. I have few other questions on the macro part of the company, on the operations. I will come back in the queue.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Deepan Shankara Narayan from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks a lot for the opportunity. And congratulations for MB team for a great set of numbers.
Thank you, sir.
Firstly, wanted to understand what has helped a strong improvement in gross margins Q on Q. So we have seen 37% versus 31%.
Multiple things. I would say the improved capacity utilization, better performance, the results of various technologies and man-machine interface, or I would say artificial intelligence, or various other initiatives which we took in past probably 24 months started paying. And overall, see what has happened is typically in our industry, there is quite a substantial K-shaped curve has happened. Certain companies have really did okay, and certain companies could not do as good as they were expected to. That has created a kind of I would say vacuum or a place for everyone who's doing all right in their time. So that gave us a better ability to price. Probably that is one thing which we could encash on the good quality of buyers as we had. And that has helped us to improve on the pricing and the margin. So it is what a combination effort of, I would say, a better improved utilization factor, finer utilization of man-machine interface, which we created in past 24 odd months. Good set of customers who understood the importance of products which has been serviced by us in the difficult time as COVID. That now getting remunerated, because now they want to hang up or hang around with us. And the last and one of the most pivotal was also a lot of people strategically decided to also put some eggs in India who were purely buying from China. So certain customers have started moving from China to India. That has also given us an edge over other economies. So it is I would say cascaded or a combined effect of all these small things put together. I would say that this would continue or slightly improve during the second half of the year. This is really proving to be very helpful. So this seems the third quarter is halfway, as Maithili has told, halfway through, and order book seems pretty reasonably strong. So I would not be surprised if we see somewhat improved version of these results during the next couple of quarters.
Okay. Great to hear, sir. So why I asked this question, because I think at gross margin levels we have almost crossed even the pre-COVID levels. Pre-COVID levels, we were 33 to 35%, but we have reached 37. But still, our EBITDA margins are still lower than our best of 14% level. So,
Actually,
in future, if we are able to control costs, we will be able to make up that. Right?
And we are trying that. Plus, you have to also see that when it was a 14%, there was also a support of MEIS in it. Now MEIS is not there. So if we just add 4% to this, we also crossed here the pre-COVID level.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is without any government external support of funding or like I would say the benefits what we used to get pre-COVID level. We are hopeful that they will come through someday or other. But as of now, these results what you see, they are on its own standalone.
Okay. So this kind of exports growth, strong export growth and better product mix is here to stay for a couple of quarters.
Yes, definitely. This has been earned during the hard work which we put in during the COVID time. Like this is I would say a gift by our customers for the hard work which we did in that time. The people, everybody in the company, which like the way we were back to the normalcy or during the tough time, everybody operated. People at Mumbai, people at Silvassa, everybody did their excellent jobs. So like you definitely get rewarded for the good job you do with the general way of life. No? So it's definitely going to be with us.
Okay. And in terms of pond liners, so currently what kind of run rate we are doing and what kind of efforts we are making that over next 2-3 years where we can see that kind of run rate. So which are all the states we are planning to enter at a larger level. So those things we wanted to get an update.
So I think Maithili is the best person to come answer this part of it. So I will let her do the part to it.
Sure.
So the question about pond lining, in terms of the states that, like we've said before, we're currently present in about 6 odd states now, which is Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Punjab, Haryana, and in some capacity Andhra Pradesh. And now we're trying to really increase our foothold over Punjab, Haryana, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. And we are also increasing our foothold over Madhya Pradesh. So with this, what this means is that we're basically appointing more sales staff there. We're trying to understand what are the more potential areas within these states, like what are the districts that are higher potential, etc. Along with this, we are also exploring exporting pond liners, not just to the United States, but also to Europe and the African market. And I'm also pleased to note that we've actually received our first consignment order from the US within this quarter. So that's another growth stream for the pond lining vertical, which is looking strong.
Okay. So I just wanted to get that current run rate of pond liners, what we are doing. And also in terms of shrimp pond liners, we were discussing that's a huge opportunity. So any update on that side?
Yeah, so with regard to the shrimp pond liners, actually we have done about 5 to 7 test ponds that we've created. We are facing a few technical issues with that, so our product team is still working on the product. We haven't gotten a go-ahead from the sales side for it, but we are expecting that anywhere between January and February to get a go-ahead on that. And since first quarter is really the biggest quarter for pond lining usually, given that it's the pre-rain quarter, I think we'll be well in time to sort of catch that for the southern states. So it's going to be mostly around the AP and Telangana, around the Vizag belt that we'll be focusing on shrimp.
Okay. So overall current run rate of pond liners, what we are doing?
Yeah, so for this quarter, it was a little bit lower than usual. But I think on the half-yearly mark, we should be consistent with the last year. Because of the rainy season, there was an off-season rain, so it was a little bit lower this quarter.
So 12 to 14 per day kind of run rate we were doing, right, last year?
Yeah. So we were doing 12 to 14. So we are on a half-yearly mark. We're still consistent with that. And we're watching demand pick up now in the third quarter. But second quarter was a little bit lower. We did about 9 to 10 per day because the rain was pretty delayed and very sporadic.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot and all the best. I'll come back.
Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone who would like to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Mahendra Marlecha from Marlecha and Company. Please go ahead.
Yeah, congratulations to CMD and CFO and their team of MB. And it's very impressive your tagline, the bounce back year FY22. Will you explain us regarding that you have described the 4 vertical, the vertical wise revenue and the margin of each vertical?
These are the detailed vertical wise margin.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Apalwar. May I request you to repeat that answer? We couldn't hear you clearly.
Marlecha ji, are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you, sir.
Yeah. So we don't actually publish the vertical wise margins because it is a little bit very prone for our competition and everything else that which are the businesses which are making us better money. So this is actually we are giving the consolidated numbers only. So and by and large the chart is there which is present in our presentation for the on the page number 14 you can see the in vertical wise revenue split. It is available.
And about the margin?
Margins, I told that we are not announcing vertical wise margins.
Okay. My second question on the export side, you have mentioned in the presentation regarding orders in hand, the quite impressive orders you have. So can you tell us about when you are going to execute these orders and what's the volume of the orders in terms of the rupee and in terms of the volume, because of the container freight, it's very concerned, the volume also.
Sure, I'll answer this in this. So you need to know our business, that we have a business, most of the that is a B2B export business or international B2B business, which is a continuous rotating business. We have customers who are buying from us again and again, and we have a order book of around 6 to 8 weeks right now in the international exports B2B business. And just to add, whatever is the cost of freight and container freight is always included separately. We sell the material ex factory and then we add whatever is the cost at actuals to this. So there can be some swelling in the billing cycle, but that is not a cost which comes on us. It's a cost which is paid by our customer.
Okay. And my third and last question regarding the industry and the company, that the last 4-year, 5-year data, it shows that you have bell-shaped cycle, where that your margin improves, your profit improves, and then after a certain period of time, after a 3-year or 4-year, 3.5 year, your EPS down, your PAT down, your margin down. So do you think that your company belongs to a cyclic industry?
Well, I really don't agree to your this comment that that there has been some cycles. But if you see in last 5 years, after 3.5 years, there was a COVID time. So naturally, with the COVID time, it has come down. So that is one of the things which in this, and now it is at the pre-COVID level, which has already reached. And I guess you just made probably a study of last 5 years. In order to decide the cyclability, you need to at least go through 3 cycles or 4 cycles, which I am sure your opinion will change as soon as you look at it for more 5 years.
Okay. My one little question regarding that on the environment, use of the plastic in agri sector. Do you think that you will have the net carbon credit or that the zero credit?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, so just to answer your question about, so I just also add a comment to your last question about the cyclical cycle of the company. So just to add to Mr. Apala's comments, also it's very hard to peg us into one cycle or one sector, right? Because we are present across so many different sectors, which is why this year, even when consumer goods were hit so badly, we were still able to manage our capacities by switching into the export side. So that's one thing which the diversification helps with, is that typical sectoral cycles do not hit the company. Now, to come to your question about the agropolymers sector, so within the agropolymers currently, we are present in a bunch of different products, sir. So we're present right from, products like pond liner, which are actually completely carbon neutral products, because the pond lining fabric which we make is fully recyclable. And after the 5-year warranty cycle is over, we also offer to take the polymer back from the farmer and in-house reprocess that material for some other products which we create. This is not used back in pond liner because it's a warranted product, but some other shorter life cycle products it's used back on. So that's a carbon neutral product, which is the biggest product. And with the other products as well, we do, while the market, so just to give one example, with mulch film is one example, where the market demands a fairly low cost product. So in that cost which they demand, it's very hard to create a product which is biodegradable. However, we do offer a biodegradable mulch film product, which is priced at 4x of the traditional Indian mulch film. Now, obviously, when it's priced at 4x, it's going to take a little bit of a time to create a market for that product. But that's something that our field team is really trying to do, is to work hard on selling the product and create a market for it, so that when, like the Jabla bag rule came, that overnight the Jabla bags were removed. If something like that happens, we are ready with all of the biodegradable products for each product which we offer. And if something like that happens, we can switch over to it.
Okay. Thank you for answering our question, and best of luck for the future.
Thanks, and Happy New Year to you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashok Shah from LFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. My first question is regarding how is our debt reduction program, and with good results, what is going to be debt reduction in current year? And second question is regarding what was the capacity utilization for USD FDA approved plant which we set up, I think 2 years ago, and any further new plan for new capex or something like that?
Okay, Ashok bhai, I would answer your question. 3 questions asked. Capacity utilization, I told you around 84%. Debt reduction per year, the long-term debt is planned to reduce every year by around 13 to 14 crore per year. And the third was capacity utilization of the clean tech or a food grade facility. So we already crossed the 75% utilization of food grade facility, and we are expecting to complete 100% utilization of capacity by another, say, around 8 to 12 months. And as Priyank asked in the initial comment, that what is the plan for new addition of capacity. So we would be adding additional 3,000 tons by probably this end of this financial year.
So what is going to be a capex for this new?
That is getting done on the low, I would say, low capex cycle which we have now learned. So only the bag making side would be installed in MB, and there are a lot of companies who are our contract manufacturers or job board partners who would be creating fabric for that particular capacity. So it would be, say, roughly around 7 to 8 crore rupees. So the capex will not increase more than 8 to 10 crore during this year. That's in the overall capex, means apart from this and debottlenecking and all other minor things go here and there. So its capex would be restricted to that.
So to sum up it, whatever the debt repayment will be taking around 9 crore, and also new capex of 10 crore. So actually debt will
repayment of 14 crore, I said.
14 crore. So 14 crore and new capex of 10 crore. So actual debt reduction will be only 4 crores. Is it true?
Yes, that is right. But on the extended capacity, you have to see that will add the capacity, present capacity for additional capacity of roughly 3,000 tons.
And also there is some increase in raw material PP cost over last 1.5 months. So are there any pain being paid or the some because we do take a contract based on the price. So
Yeah, but those are the like reschedulable or repriceable on the monthly basis. So generally we have that much of a head ups, and as I told you in the past also, we always maintain the inventory which is equivalent to our orders in hand. So that doesn't impact us in either way. If it goes up, it doesn't help us, or it doesn't reduce our profits, or if it goes down, it doesn't increase our profit. So it is kind of a impact neutral activity for us, whether it goes up or down, because we are maintaining the stocks. So that might impact little bit of a working capital. Apart from that, nothing major happens.
okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, we would like to remind our participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Priyank Chedda from Standard Chartered Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for the follow-up. Just wanted to clarify on the previous question. So, as per our calculation, we would be generating, say, around 35 crores of net cash flow from operations after tax in all of the financial year FY22, out of which 9 crore we have already done a capex as we see in last 6 months. And the balance that we plan to do is we plan to reduce 13-14 crores of long-term debt. Is that correct understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, on the revenue details, I just wanted how much was B2B business and how much was Avana B2C in terms of rupees crore in this quarter?
Numbers, we are given it on the general idea you will get from the presentation. Exact numbers, I would tell Kaushal to communicate you.
Sure. Done. That would be great, sir. Just a suggestion. So the page 15 of the pie chart that we have on the presentation as a vertical breakup, it does not give that good information except for a pictorial, impression. So if you can just add a percentage in that pie chart, it would be helpful.
Sure. I noted this point. I will communicate it.
Sir, on the larger part, so on FY, so we are broadly, getting the sense of order book for FY22. Now, moving ahead on FY23, if you can elaborate more on the outlook for B2B business, both on domestic and international front, and as well as if Maithili can help us on Avana B2C, particularly the pawn line of business in terms of what is the revenue scalability that we are looking at ahead in FY23?
Sure. So I'll take the question first for the international as well as domestic B2B. I guess this year, when year ends, we would see a growth anything between 45 to 50% over a previous year. So last year's growth and this year's growth, both are taken care by this year itself, so that we don't lose that this. Next year, we are targeting at least a 20%, anything between 15 to 20% growth in B2B and B2, means domestic and international B2B. This is about the international, and as you'd like to hear about Avana from Maithili, I will pass it on to Maithili. So I would say company-wide, you should anything between 15 to 25 should be the good range of growth expected after this financial year.
Okay. Yeah. So just to continue with regard to Avana, and you specifically asked about pawn lining. So we will be hoping to take it to about, we will be around between the 70 and 85 crores mark this year, at the end of the year for pawn lining specifically. And next year we'll be hoping to have it between 100 and 110 crores only for pawn lining. Retail this year, as promised, will be close to 10 crores, above it definitely, if definitely not lower, but we'll cross the 10 crores mark. So next year we will be looking at about 25 crores coming in from retail in Maharashtra, which is consumer goods, and then we'll also be looking at about 10 crores, which is coming from outside of Maharashtra, so around 35 crores total in consumer goods.
Okay. So, Maithili, just to continue on the Avana side, I understand we have been doing a lot of penetration with respect to states and within the states. So, at what level, particularly, we are confident on pawn liners, but on the consumer goods side, at what level we think that after attaining what level of penetration we would see a high scalability of revenues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So let me explain this in both sides, right? So first of all, with regard to there are two types of expansion which you can have within the consumer goods vertical. There's one side which is the geographical expansion. So in terms of the geographical expansion, we're currently only for consumer goods, we're only present in Maharashtra. And India has about 14 to 15 agricultural states which have high production of fruit and vegetable crops. So those are out of the 28 Indian states, those are the biggest agri markets. Luckily for us, they're mostly present in western, southern, and northern India, which we have some contact with through the pond lining business. So in that sense, for geographic expansion, that's the kind of purview that we're looking at. The second kind of expansion that you can get here is the expansion in terms of product. So currently, like we said, we have about 7 products which are operational now. And of course, these 7 products will be catered into new states as we start expanding. Like I said, next year we'll be having 2 states added into the after Maharashtra, hopefully doing 5 crores of business at least in each added state. But in addition to that, what we also want to do is add new products, at least add 2 to 3, maybe more than that, products per year that are creating some revenue. So really the long-term goal for retail is within each state to have 20 different products that do 5 crores of revenue each. So like I mentioned that there are 14 states. If we look at that, it will be 14 multiplied by 100, which is about 14 to 1500 crores of retail revenue. And each state's 100 crore is divided between 20 products. The reason that we want to do this is one, that within agriculture, products are very, very rain dependent. So when you're very heavily invested within one product, that can become a problem when the rain is off or when the crop cycle is off. Like just to give you one example, when there was the whole issue happening with Afghanistan, tomato prices fell in India. And because tomato prices fell in India, all the products which were related to tomato, like mulch film, they took a hit. So when you are overly invested, so there are companies like Iris Polymer, for example, smaller companies, but companies which are heavily invested in a single product, that product can take a big hit if the crop is hurt, and that's not something which is in any company's control. So to sort of diversify that, we're doing the same thing which we've done with our exports, where instead of having a few big clients like our competitors do, we have a lot of small clients spread across 60 countries. So that's what we want to do, create a lot of small products that are spread across 14 Indian agricultural states. And to answer your question on when the inflection will come, I think the inflection point will be about in 3 years, because I think currently we're learning some big lessons when it comes to holding stock. Like I think Yash mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that with thread, we weren't able to crack the product in the April-May season. The product that we had, the price point just didn't work with the market. And in June season, we were able to crack the product finally, but then we ran out of stock. So I think this year we're still learning the stock maintenance, and that with each state which we add, it will take a year to learn the stock cycles, because really you'll have to learn the full product life cycle over a year as to which months have the high demand and which months have a low demand. So I think within 3 years we'll be looking at that high point of inflection, but I think the growth will still be very high for this vertical. Like if we do 10 crores this year and 35 crores next year, you're still looking at a 300% growth. But I understand it's on a small base, so I do get where the concern is coming from. I hope that answers the question. If you have any follow-ups, happy to take them.
No, it does. Thanks for that detailed answer. So what we're looking at it is as a Avana division, which is doing a pond liner plus a different consumer goods for farmers. The total potential can be more than 250-300 crores, say in next 4 to 5 years. That's the target that is getting envisioned as you spoke about. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah, I think that's a conservative to side target, but I'd love for you to hold on to that, so when we cross that, you can be more impressed.
Okay, cool. Just continuing on the outlook on FY23, if a company can guide us more on the consolidated margin profile on EBITDA level. We understand there is no export benefit schemes, and if continuing with that, if we do not have that scheme, and as the proportion of revenue from B2C continues to grow exponentially higher, what can be a margin profile that we should be looking at it as we enter into FY23?
I see in the longer run, like say in about 8 quarters, you should not be seeing anything below 25 basis point average per quarter. Roughly, you should be able to see that growth. without considering MEIS factor. Like I'm considering it's not going to come. If at all it comes, then it's a bonus. But if it doesn't come also, roughly 25 basis points per quarter should be a incremental till say around 14, 14 and a half.
13, 13 and a half. Okay.
14, 14 and a half tak.
Okay.
25 basis points per quarter ka average. Like some quarter might be little more, some quarter might be little less. But if you spread it over 8 quarters, roughly 200 basis points we should see.
Sure. Just a last question on the PLI scheme for technical textiles that were announced. Does any of our product get classified in that, and do we plan to invest in any of the PLI scheme?
Our FIBC as a product gets classified under the PLI scheme, but yet the fine prints of the PLI scheme are not available product wise. There is a larger scheme which is the smallest possible investment scheme, starts from 60 crores in the open area and goes up on and this. So it will be unfair to comment at this juncture whether we will be participating or not, because the clarity is still not there from the government side.
Okay. But sir, how do we take it? I mean, as we get more details onto PLI scheme, I understand. Now, what would stop MB to not invest in and not participate in PLI schemes, or rather on the other side, what are the capabilities? Yeah.
Like they are expecting you to spend at least 60 crores minimum to begin or to start participation in the scheme. So I was feeling that this could have been on the slightly, they might have started it on the little lower side, because investing 60 crores with certain calculations or certain benefits expected in mind, then it's a substantial capex requirement. So that is the only one thing which I feel might push us to reconsider, because considering the possibility and the I would say direction of low capex investment years which we have decided, that would conflict with our own decision of asset light manufacturing. So maybe that is the one thing which kind of bothers me, whether that scheme would be really interesting for us or not.
Sure. I understand your concern, sir. But then, as an MB, we are moving towards 35-40 crores of cash flow generation per year, and investing 60 crores for next 3 to 5 years won't be an issue, right, for MB?
No, it is not an issue. But it conflicts with the thought that whether we want to remain asset light and let somebody else invest and we market and distribute using our knowledge and I would say know-how and brand, or we again invest into the manufacturing. Because the growth what we are seeing when we have started using the I would say the model of partner manufacturers is much better or quicker than the growth what we used to see when we were solely dependent on our own manufacturing. So that is one of the questions. And once the fine print comes and they can tell us that whether that investment can be staggered or how it has to be done, then I would say that decision can be more concretely taken.
Sure. We would love to hear that, sir, as and when it comes through. Thank you for your detailed answers.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dipan Shankara Narayanan from Trustline PMS. Please go ahead.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity again. Question to Makaran ji. So in terms of capex, so we were referring to that for 3,000 metric ton capacity. So we will restricting our capex level to 7 to 8 crore itself, and rest will be outsourced. So this kind of plan will be applicable for all our future capexes, because earlier we used to do 2 times kind of fixed asset turns, but this considering at this level, this could be 5 times fixed asset turns. So that's why I wanted to understand whether this can be applicable for all our future capexes also.
This will be applicable to the products which doesn't have too much of a proprietary technologies, or the products which are using the base level infrastructure from the, I would say, outsourced partners, and then we can process them to the level where the technology secrecy is maintained, or the IP protection is done, because in our country, you know that there is a zero IP protection technically. Like if you teach somebody, then he's going to copy you. So the product which can be kept without, or the copying is not a point there, which are sold because you have a better understanding or you have a better network. Those products can be outsourced, but the products which are kept or produced because of the technology would not be outsourced. So I guess initial 3 years, I would say, would be the same policy, because we have enough gambit of the product lines which can be now given out, and which can be, because they are given out, there's a higher space getting created for the technically more superior product to be produced within our manufacturing setup. So that kind of a thing. So next 2-3 years, I would say this is going to be the thought. That's what I was answering to the previous question, that investing heavily into PLI scheme might not be our policy in the coming time, purely because we want to grow ourselves in the more asset-light fashion than very asset-heavy, because we already have enough assets. So we have to now turn around with lesser assets and give you, as you rightly pointed out, increase the asset turn ratio quickly to the higher level, so that all the other ratios and all the other parameters of the company becomes more attractive pertaining to all of us as investors. Like, as we are the largest investors in MB, so it is definitely most important for us also to make this more investor attractive proposition.
Definitely, that was very helpful. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashok Shah from LSC Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my follow-up question. Sir, my first question is regarding how many sales staff we have recruited during last quarter?
How many what staff?
Sales staff, sales regarding marketing and sales staff.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, so we okay, so we have not actually added any sales staff within the B2B verticals. However, within the retail vertical, the consumer goods vertical for Avana, we added a 20% team at the beginning of the year, and we have sort of continued with that. Also, now within the third quarter, we are adding teams for the next 2 states which we will be entering. Consumer durables, which is Jalsante, we haven't added any sales staff.
And does this government state subsidy has started in ponds?
There was a government state subsidy which was stopped due to COVID. That hasn't restarted in Maharashtra. Subsidies are still on in Rajasthan and Karnataka. Maharashtra subsidy is expected anytime, either this quarter or in the fourth quarter.
Okay. And what's your view on the PP price future over next 1 year due to China and every international market and everything?
Polypropylene prices, you say?
Yes.
That's a difficult question, but I think we should be anything between $1,500 to $1,800 in the next 4 quarters. That's what it right now. It is $1,605. So we should not go down more than $100 and not go down above $200.
Okay, so still there is a juice left in the market, so maybe market price can go up and it can imbalance can be created.
There is a possibility, because there is a substantial imbalance getting created all over the world because of multiple reasons. One is political, other is trade embargoes, other is disparity of supplies from China, another is increase in the crude oil supplies and sucking out the larger amount of crude into, I would say, automobile or heating sectors. So there are multiple reasons where you could see some kind of a movement in both the sides, but market is not super happy even at this price. Like, buyers are kind of resisting the further increase. I would say nobody is wanting to keep the stocks and inventories, so inventory pipelines are on the lower side. So it should not cross 1800. That is what is my gut feel is. But of course, this is just I would say prediction. This has got no scientific basis or no scientific understanding. It is purely speculative. What I understand might happen and should be taken in that spirit.
So we are already almost 18 months in the COVID period. So how is competition taken place? So competition has got reduced from the unorganized sector, or new competition has come in the export market. What's the situation, current situation?
Typically, if you see the sector which is between startup to say 50 crore top line companies, they are having a most difficult time, and lot of companies has to close either the stop selling or close the shops because of very high increase in raw material prices, as well as less in demand. Domestic demand is been substantially subdued for a while during last 18 months. So those companies are a little bit in trouble. That has automatically created a place for slightly bigger peers of them. So that is a comfortable position. Internationally, as I explained in my previous note, that we are seeing some shift from China to India, and inherently because certain companies did a good job during the COVID period, or when actually the first wave and the second wave was peaking, the supplies were maintained by certain companies. Those companies are getting a better customer loyalty, and the order positions are better with them, and customer is more confident. So overall, I would say exports are more pragmatic, and they seems to be booming better than the domestic packaging segment. Domestic consumer is picking up. Water conservation was, of course, as Maithili explained, considering the extended rain cycle this year, this quarter, water conservation was a little on the lower side. So by and large, I guess we should have a comfortable sail through during this financial year. And next year, you should see anything between 15 to 25% as a top line growth, depending. I guess I'm giving such a large band because nobody knows what is going to be the polymer prices fluctuation. So considering all that, that is the thing which I look at in the broader picture.
In the local market, there is a large number of unorganized or small pond manufacturers. So are there any competition or hit being felt by this competitor, and some has closed or something has happened over last 18 months? Hello? Yeah.
Hello?
Did you get
Yeah, I heard the question. Are you referring to local manufacturers who are exporting or selling within the domestic market?
No, manufacturer of ponds and everything. But there is lots of competition from small vendors. And are there any closure has happened or something has happened, so imbalance or something like that? Yeah.
No, actually, so within the local, segment, so like I mentioned this in the beginning at the start of the speech also, the whole agropolymer market is very, very disorganized in the local sector, right? So, of course, the majority of the players are unorganized players, and of course, there's, price competition. But something that we have definitely tried to do within pond lining, and that's something we're trying to do within all of our other smaller ticket items as well, is to not get into the price war and actually do a value sale for all of our products. So we price our products very comfortably, at least 15% above the market rate, if not 20 to 25%. And we try to target the most progressive and the largest farmers within each district and within each village. So we are definitely trying to hit that category of farmers who wants to take the first mover as the sort of the bigger farmer in the village who's ready to spend on a higher product, who's ready to see whether the product has benefits or not. And what we've seen is, for example, just to tell you about Murghas bags, which was a product we launched last year, we were actually competing with second-hand FIBC bags. So while the second-hand bags were priced at anywhere between 200 and 250 rupees to the consumer, our selling cost was between 550 to 600 rupees. So when we started off, it was very difficult, but we really focused on selling value to the consumer of the fact that the bag was not contaminated. There was no risk. We were able to supply throughout COVID. So your supply will not stop because seasonality is very important to the consumer. So now with a lot of products with Murghas, we've definitely seen traction. Also with our thread product, like Yash was mentioning, there was a lot of traction to the point where retailers were telling us that it's the first. So our thread brand is Samriddhi. It's Avana Samriddhi thread. And so retailers were saying that this was the first time that anybody, the farmer, is coming and saying, okay, Samriddhi ka dhaga do. Because thread is typically within one season, they have to use it 3 times. So after they've used it the first time and they get good results, they're coming back. So of course, there's a good amount of disorganized players in the market, but if we get into a price war with them, we'll never be able to compete because it's one owner and zero managers and they're just selling directly to the retailer. So there's no price competition with that kind of a company. But what we are trying to get into is a value competition and making sure that the consumer understands that when there's a brand, there's a consistency of product behind it. And I think that approach is really helping so far.
So what's our ad budget for the current year? We are doing something on the TV and everything, yeah.
Yeah, so the budgets currently for marketing are about 2 to 3% of the revenue of Avana. We're planning on ramping it up to about 5% of Avana's revenue next year, because this year we only had 2 products that were, completely doing well in the market that we wanted to promote through mass communication, which was Pond Liner and Murgha's Bag. But next year we'll have about 5 to 6 products, which, this year we've tested, we've gotten very strong market response on. So now we want to get onto a mass communication level for promotion. So because the number of products is going up so much, we've decided to ramp that budget up.
Okay. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. On behalf of MB Industries Limited and Kia Choksi Research, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.